Hello, Aurora lovers. This is DaleBoan from DaleBoan Imaging, and this is Aurora Hunting 101. This is episode 34, a review of the My Aurora Forecast Alerts app. It's a long name. The app is very popular. It does a pretty good job of displaying the information. It's fairly easy to understand, although there is a lot of stuff there. And I find it's fairly innovative. They're trying to do things in a different way. I do think it has one pretty glaring flaw in it. So let's take a look. Well, just like my last review, I recorded this on my phone, and this one, the audio doesn't seem to have even recorded. So I'm going to just use the slides off my phone and talk over it, re-record audio. So My Aurora Forecast Alerts, that's pretty unwieldy. So once you install it, it will show up with that Aurora icon, and it'll just say Aurora underneath it. It is available for, both Apple and Android phones. Come here. So this is the home screen. The main thing is the KP index. When I recorded it, it was KP7 in Europe/Russia area. So they were getting very good display. Unfortunately, it was daytime when I recorded this. So, KP7 is really good the scale goes up to 9, and 9 very rarely happens, like once or twice a solar cycle, every 10, 11 years. So don't expect a lot of KP9. 7 is pretty good. And then the other things that we have got on the home screen is the Aurora map. Come back to and talk about that in the detail, and the best locations now, and then some webcams below that. You got the tabs along top for just the different options. So let's look at that a little bit more. The Aurora map is probably one of their more innovative features. I do like this because it does have some cool features. So if we look at this, so this is, it's hard to see under there, but that's Scandinavia. So Northern Europe here going into Russia. And it's all red because of its KP7. So there's going to be large, the Aurora's oval is going to expand it significantly and be very far south. So there's lots of areas which should have Aurora visible, highly visible. And you can see it's color coded, and it's based on probability. If you click on that icon, it will tell you what the probability is. I think this is an improvement to the traditional 30-minute forecast maps that NOAA produces. They look like this. So this is the NOAA 30-minute Aurora forecast, and they've got these not very detailed maps. And if you're in Canada, there's no province markings or anything. They've got the states, but no provinces. So it's, it's kind of hard to tell exactly where you are. So that remapping it onto a Google map is certainly very helpful. You can scroll around and find your location. The downside of that is it's really easy to scroll in here and zoom way down in there and get too hung up on exact locations. The 30-minute forecast is based on a single number plus some time of day information. But basically it's a map of the HPI value. And you're not going to get exact locations based on a single value that's spread across the globe. And you can see, how chunky the corners are here, right? Based on, it's not like, here it's going to be visible and over here it's not going to be visible. There's not going to be that big of a difference. You can't get too hung up on exact accuracy with this. And I think that could be very misleading for new people. If you click on this icon up here, you actually get the NOAA maps, and they've got several of them and a couple different options that NOAA doesn't normally display. But I think overall it's a good improvement, because, you know, if you don't have any markings, it's really hard to tell where you are. It was daylight and I would have no aurora where I was. It does take, it was being slow refreshing, so. Another option down here is sort of hidden by the scroll bar. Oops. Is probabilities of aurora. Beside that is clouds. If you click on clouds, you get the cloud map. Not looking good for where I am. And then the last one is all you get clouds with the probabilities overlaid on top of it. So that's useful as well. It's a nice weather display there, so I think that's very helpful. The next one is best location. So you can click on here and report if you could see the aurora. Forget how you do that. Might be on the next screen. I think if you click on this eye here, it will let you say whether you can see the aurora or not. And I think that's really helpful. You can see across Russia here that lots of people are reporting. There'd be lots of people in Europe as well. You know, even some North America up in the far north, Greenland. So I think there's a couple caveats in there that could be possibly misleading. I guess on the plus side, since the aurora oval expands down from the north, or away from the pole if you're in the South, Spanish to the south, but expands away from the poles to the equator. And it's pretty much a solid oval. There is some structure there, but it's pretty solid. So if somebody south of you reports, you know, almost sort of directly south of you, you know, not in a different continent, but or certainly within a state or province of you, is reporting that you can see the aurora south of you, there's a pretty good chance that you can see it as well. Because the aurora has expanded far enough south that they can see it, you should have a better view if you're further north. And even if you're a little bit south of this most southern reported location, you can probably still see it. The aurora is very high up in the sky. It starts 100 kilometers up and goes up to several hundred kilometers. So if you're 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers, even 200 kilometers south, 150 miles south, you can probably still see the aurora, assuming you don't have clouds. You know, that weather is always the wild card in that, but the aurora is huge, and it has no exact location. It spans the globe. You could see how big that red area was in the projections, or the areas on the 30-minute forecast. The flip side of that is, especially if you're not very experienced, experienced observers can identify things that are aurora that you might not be able to see. Myself, as a very experienced observer, I can look at the northern sky and go, you know, there's probably aurora there, just because that part of the sky looks a little bit brighter than it should be. And barring light pollution or something, a light source. You know, if this northern horizon is a little bit brighter than, you know, the east and west horizon, that's probably aurora. And if you take a picture, there'll probably be aurora in the photograph. And quite often they're quite colorful. But there's nothing to look at, nothing to really enjoy. Sometimes you'll get basically pale white clouds on the horizon, and that's aurora as well. So, you know, when you're just starting out, it takes a while to learn what might be aurora and what might not be aurora. if you're taking photographs, people can photograph things that you can't necessarily see or recognize as aurora. My recommendation is the aurora needs to be fairly strong, stronger than the minimum before you should go out when you're just starting out. So that's certainly a caveat with this sort of reporting system. And then below that is live webcams, which are nice so you can see if people can see if there's aurora from different locations. And they do switch the cams through the day. So right now, Europe has the aurora, so they're showing Scandinavian webcams. So you're not going to see anything here from this. It looks like a ski hill. It's snowing and cloudy, but some of the other ones should be able to see it. On the next tab, you've got viewing probability. I don't know how they come up with this. They're generating that somehow, I think. I don't know of any forecast that's that accurate. It's in 5-minute increments, so it might be coming out of the 30-minute forecast. Cloud cover, 100% cloud cover where I am. Not good. Scroll down, KP next hour. Again, sort of the same thing. I don't know exactly how they come up with that. And KP isn't really an aurora forecast. That gets us into the 3-day forecast, which is the what they're calling the upcoming hours. In my mind, this is the weakest part of the app. They're showing about 18 hours of the upcoming forecast. The 3-day forecast has usually at least 2.5 days of upcoming information. So that's about 60 hours, and they're only showing 18 of it. And I think they really should do that. That's one of the weaker things. Instead, they almost immediately drop down into this long-term forecast, which gives you the maximum for the day, which is really a shame because there's problems with this sort of display. And they have the information that's this is straight out of the NOAA 3-day forecast, these KP values. So those are the maximum values for each of those 3-hour periods. And it's the way they display it is just a little bit weird because the time range would be 9 to midnight, and somewhere in that 9 to midnight range, it's forecast to be KP 6. It's not going to be at 9 p.m. It's probably going to be somewhere in between there, assuming the forecast is accurate. If we're talking about forecasts, we've got to assume that they're accurate. They're likely to be, but sort of needs to be shifted over about 1.5 hours to be maybe a little more representative of how the underlying forecast is organized conceptually. Not displaying enough of it is the other problem. Because it'd be nice to know what tomorrow looks like rather than just having a peak number for the day. When you get into the longer term forecast, they actually display some more of it. So this is the next week. So there's a couple problems with this. One, for Sunday, that's saying KP 6 sometime during the day. Actually, that's probably the one that's showing there. So on Monday, it's going to be KP 6 sometime during the day, but you have no idea if that's day or night. And for how long? Maybe it's a single spike. Something weird happens. I think it's going to be a short-term effect or it's a long-term effect. It's just not very helpful, especially when they have the details for those days. It's a forecast. It might not be accurate, but at least give me the details that you have. 2, all the forecasts for NOAA come out in UTC time. So basically the time in England. And there isn't an easy way of adjusting these to local time. So these aren't actually local days. They're UTC days. And where I live in the center of North America, I'm Central Standard Time, and it's 6 hours off of UTC. So there's a 6-hour shift offset that's in here that isn't really obvious. Now, saying that, the NOAA's long-term information is not called a forecast, it's called the outlook. Two, it's mainly about radio interference or radio signals. And it's a statistical thing. It's not a forecast of actual activity, because something has to happen on the sun before we get aurora. And it's that 2 to 4 day window. The 3-day forecast is the one that's accurate based on the actual activity on the sun. The long-term one is based on how many sunspot regions there are, how many active or sunspots and active regions there are, and coronal holes there are on the sun, to sort of do a statistical estimate of what might be going on, but it's nothing more than that. If there's, here there's several days of elevated activity, that probably means that there's a active, in that case, probably not very active set of sunspot groups or active that are going to be rotating to face Earth that will probably generate something, but I'm certainly not going to plan on driving a long ways or traveling a long ways based on that information. Now, if you're playing the odds, it's going to be better, but it's a statistical guess. It's not an actual forecast. Below that, they've got some solar or satellite information. So this is measurements taken by the Discover satellite. Solar wind speed. So as it decreases, it has less of an impact on the Earth's magnetic field. BZ is a thing that mostly affects the northern lights. So B is the overall magnetic field carried by the solar wind. Z or Z for BZ, the Z in there, the Z in there, depending on which pronunciation you prefer, is the magnetic field orientation relative to the Earth's magnetic field. So when they match, most of the solar wind just flows past the Earth. When they mismatch, it interacts much more with Earth's magnetic field, and particles get pulled down to the Earth's magnetosphere. So you can see here, it's negative when it's mismatched. So here, that's what's driving that KP7 in part, allowing the aurora oval to expand, and then it flips. It goes to 0 and then back down. If it's positive, it'll shut off that flow of energy eventually into the aurora, causing it to start to contract. And T is the overall magnetic field. T is total, X, Y, and Z total. So if it's 26 and about 16 of it is in the negative direction, that's a pretty good ratio. So this is here, it just sort of gives you I think in my mind, the ratio matters less than the overall strength, although overall strength does matter as well. But, a -2 when it's 26 is not going to be the same as a -2 when it's 3. Next one up here is pictures. So you can submit pictures and a date and time. So that's always nice if you want to show some of your photographs. And then they've got sun pictures in here. This is an ultraviolet picture of the sun, and this is the dark spot is a coronal hole. So, and coronal holes is one of the two things that generates northern lights, or dominates generation of certainly stronger northern lights. It's an area of the region where the sun's magnetic field is weak, and particles just stream out of it, creating a high-speed stream. And when it's, near the equator and approximately facing Earth, that is when that stream is more likely to hit the Earth, creating aurora. So that could be actually what's driving this KP7. I don't actually know, but that's certainly a possibility. When you look at the sun with normal light, other than UV, those are all different frequencies of light. So if you look at it like this, that you just see the sunspots, you don't see that coronal hole. And last tab is just travel advertising. You know, it is a ad-supported app. It does generate alerts for free, which is very nice, but it is ad-supported. You've got these ads down at the bottom. So I don't mind some ads if you're giving a lot of good information away for free. So in summary, I think this is a good app. I used to recommend it quite a bit. The display of the 3-day forecast really bothers me, and I've seen a lot of people struggling understanding the implications of that long-term single-day forecast. You know, people making plans based on tomorrow. It says tomorrow is going to be KP7. Well, yeah, maybe, but maybe it's going to be during the day. You don't know if it's going to be during the night, and they have that information. They're just not displaying it. So I think that's a major weakness in this. And then I think the Aurora map, I really like that they're displaying it on the Google map, but I think it's very easy to get hung up on absolute accuracy. You know, Saskatoon to Langham is half an hour drive. There's going to be no difference in aurora visibility, and one of those blocks could be on one side and the other. There's not, you know, don't get too hung up in the precise edges of those maps. Overall, I would give it a 7 or 8 out of 10, probably more towards the 7, just because the more I see people interact with it, I think they really need to fix that 3-day forecast. So the My Aurora Forecast and Alerts app is a mouthful. I think they're trying to be really innovative. I really like that they're displaying the 30-minute forecast on the Google map and that you can overlay clouds in it. Like I say, obviously the 3-day forecast is their main weakness, and being able to report your observations, that's always good and helps other people find out where the aurora is visible. Take a look at your cloud map, right? Because they may have clear skies and you may not. You may also want to look and see when they reported it. I'm not certain how long those reports stick around. But overall, I think it's a good app. I just wish they'd fix that 3-day display. With that, please check out episode 35. I'm going to review the Space Weather Live, either app or website. I think it's going to be the app. And with that, I'm wishing you clear skies and happy hunting.